Welcome to Call for Wisdom. We're going to find out why being a modern monogamous woman is a waste of time. Total waste of time for me, maybe for you too, if you're a sister. Here we go. Let's review that concept. Okay.
So I don't have to appease to anyone anymore. I just appease to myself and what brings me joy. Like, I'm not a selfish person. I've always been really giving. But it comes to a point where it's just like you're tearing one person in too many directions. Like, we just can't be everything to everybody. And especially if you come from a background like me where, you know, your childhood pretty much burnt you out, and it's like you get to adulthood, now you got kids, you got a husband. It's like, look, I still have to go back and work on all this stuff from the past. So between that, having a job, having children, trying to manage the sex drive of another human being,
Mm-hmm.
a man at that,
Mm-hmm.
it becomes too much. It
Yeah.
honestly becomes.
There's a pattern out there, if you didn't notice, of women complaining about having too much on their plate as in the relationships. And modern women now want to replace that with getting out of the relationship because being a modern monogamous woman, they see this as a burden. And I kind of have to agree. Realistically, I don't think we were intended to be monogamous. And holding on to this concept and still being modern, modern being anti feminine, like not traditional. Um, Modern being feminist minded, modern being I want my own way, entitled, strong independent woman thing. Here's another one. There's so many on internet. There's so many to choose from. It's kind of like hard because there's so many good ones to choose from. But let me give you another one here. And I'll show you. If you go on TikTok on these things, you'll see all the time women complaining about their relationships.
In the past, on a video where I say that marriage is not beneficial to women, I've had a couple women come and say, well, it's beneficial to me because I don't pay bills. You think it's beneficial, but it's still not. The only way him paying all the bills is beneficial is if he can afford to pay somebody to cook and clean. If you're doing the cooking and the cleaning, then you're doing the cooking and the cleaning for free room and board. If somebody came to me and said, hey, you're going to cook and clean and take care of my kids, and in exchange, I'm going to give you a place to stay, I would say, you know what, maybe if I was a college student, that might be a good plan, but I'm going to pass on that because that sounds like hell, especially when I know how much chefs make, cleaners, nannies, etc., especially when I know how much they make a year. And you want me to do it for free 99 for a roof over my head? Nah, no. You better be a real housewife. You're going to lunch, you are taking girls trips, you are going shopping, you have a nanny, you have a chef, you have a driver. But
Girls
don't come up
trips,
in my comment
lunch.
section telling
Yeah.
me that marriage is benefiting you because you are the free labor.
Wow. You see how this,
It's benefiting you if he's
wow.
paying you for every single job title you hold and he's paying you the cost of living for each of those job titles, but it's not beneficial in exchange for room and board.
Okay. So let's just dissect that a little bit. And I want to actually go through her
Not
twice.
beneficial.
But first of all, welcome to Call for Wisdom. Welcome, my sisters and my brothers, and all the rest of you who are joining me here today. I'm so happy to be back. My name is Deborah, and this is a Bible study for believing women. And if you're not a believer in Yeshua and Jesus, and you don't really believe in the Bible, then you're still welcome because I'm still talking to you. And if you're female, come along. This is for sisters. And I really want to talk to my sisters and kind of continue the conversation I had the last episode about my story and my journey into why I'm polygynous, why I no longer and never have actually identified as being monogamous, and why I think monogamy right now is suited for modern women better than polygyny, and why, if you're a modern monogamous woman, you're going to fail. Your relationships, generally speaking, are going to fail. That's why 80% of divorces right now are initiated by women, because majority of women in marriage right now in the West are in monogamous relationships. And listen to these two ladies, what they had in common is that they're complaining about their marriages. Both of them are divorced. They're complaining about not the fact that the men are cheating, nothing like that. Cheating being, they think monogamy again, having another woman is cheating. So, not because of that. Actually, a lot of them are saying that they had good men, but they don't like the fact that the burden of being a wife is put solely on them in a monogamous relationship. They have to cook, they have to raise the children. That's a lot. You have to clean the house, you have to give sexual keep up with the man sexually in his desires. They have to also be there to regulate the children's emotions and help with the family schedules of things. And if they have a business or no business and they have to work a second job, that's a lot of pressure on one woman. One woman. I like to put it like this, right? Let's imagine monogamy being like a tree. And if you notice in my thumbnail, I had an image of a tree, right, my sisters? So let's imagine monogamy being like a tree. I grew up in a tree farm with beautiful trees, beautiful oak tree or beautiful mango tree in the tropics, right? The the main part of the tree, the um, stem of the tree, the main part of the tree is the husband. He is the vine. He is the core of the tree trunk. He is that. That is the tree, the head of the tree. And the wife is the branches in my analogy, the branches. And the produce of being attached to the tree, right, makes the branches able to produce fruits. Correct? So here we are in the image. I had a couple mango trees. I mean, mango fruits with the branches. So let's say it represents the children, if you can bear biological children, or it represents the income that you can bring into the family. The fruits represent your fruits of the spirit, your love, your joy, your peace, your long suffering and kindness, the things you do for other orphans and widows and sisters and people in need, the working for the kingdom. You become fruitful, you become useful to the branch, to the tree as a whole, because you're bearing fruits, and to Yah, because we're commanded to be fruitful, and multiply. So Yah wants us to create more fruits. This is our command. So why would I waste my time in a system that limits the amount of fruits I can produce as a woman? Whereas if I myself accept the reality that Yah has given men the option to be polygynous, able to have more than one wife, that's what polygyny means. Biblical polygamy means the ability to have a man to take on more than one wife. It is legal, it is not against the law. Now, you can look at my other resources that I have in my channel explaining all that, or go to Digging in the Word, where Brother Mike Allen, he's my cover as well, explains all that, and we go into the the reasons why polygamy is not against Torah, and it's actually very much an option, a righteous option for men. But this video is not about that. I'm not trying to defend it. I'm just saying that I accept it, right? I've already gone past that with you, all my sisters. We accept it. It's there. It's an option. And you, my sisters, also, I'm encouraging you to embrace being polygynous in your mentality, whether or not your husband is actually there yet. I encourage you to drop the monogamy only standards in your head and the delusion, because it is a waste of time. It is messing around with your psyche on so many levels. So, we're going to go through a few of the reasons why I think this is happening and why I think it's a waste of time. Now, according to these ladies over here, they've already admitted that being married, period, especially in monogamy, is overburdening to modern women. It was also for my grandparents and my ancestors before a job, being married, yeah, being a helpmate, but it wasn't such a burden because they had embraced polygyny. Officially, they were not shaming the women who bore with them children for their husbands. They had more respect for them than we do right now. They didn't call them the side chick. They didn't call them the housebreaker. They didn't call them the 304. They didn't give them any names. In my country where I grew up, the other women usually came in through nannies, being the nannies, or another family that the grandparent had, my grandparents had on the side. And these families would work together for the good of the whole household of the man. And because we shared duties back then with housekeeping, tending the garden, teaching the children, tending to the man's needs, we had a lot more time personally to do more things that are specific to our own talents and to our own calling. Because I gave you the analogy of the tree, okay? The man is the tree. The women in his life are the branches. Now, monogamy has the man limited to one branch. You can only have one woman. And out of the one woman, the woman has their a limited capacity to bear fruits. And I would say that one of the reasons why she has a limited capacity, limited being the average woman has two, well, not now we're in minus, right? In the modern day, we are not even having children at all. But back in the day, you used to have two, and then sometimes three. That's it, right? And if you have four, five, six more, that's abnormal. That's not normal. And on top of that, it brings a lot of stress on the branch, like all these kids on one tree branch. And how healthy can the overall tree be if the tree it only has one branch? One branch is getting the sunlight, one branch is getting the nutrients, but also not there to have any shade from anybody else. The other branches offer support. The other branches offer shade in a tree. If you see a tree in nature with only one branch and a few little fruits, well, think, well, what's wrong with that tree? That looks odd. It's not even in nature to see a tree with one branch and only a few little fruits. I live in the tropics. If you see that, you think that tree is sick. That is something wrong with that tree because trees were meant to bear fruit by having more than one branch bear fruit. And having more than one branch pulls up the nutrients through the soil and it feeds to each other and they shade each other and they actually help pollinate the fruits of each other and they help tend to each other. And so, just like in a polygynous marriage, more than one wife offers support, offers shade, offers encouragement to bear fruit. Oh, it's a season to do fruit, be fruitful. And that is the command. That is the command that Yah gave both Adam and Eve. Be fruitful. The analogy suits polygyny, not monogamy. In nature, it is obvious. Fruit trees have many branches, many fruits. And so in the image you saw, I noticed that the man had two wives and some children at the back. And these children themselves will multiply and have children of their own. And it's not just about having children, like I said. It's also about being productive, financially productive. Like, look at this, sisters. If you're a single sister listening to me right now and you're working for the boss man who is not your husband, because you ain't got no husband, you are being fruitful for a man that's not covering you. You are being fruitful and wasting your days, your hours in exchange for cash. Now, let's say you made $20 an hour, or let's just put it in US dollars. Let's say you made 1,000 US today. On average, that's probably pretty good, right? 1,000 US today for your 8 hours of work to this man that's not your husband. He gave you the cash. You wasted 8 hours of your time. You didn't invest anything for you. You invested in him. And now let's say I told you that tomorrow you're going to die, or 3 days from now you're going to die. Would you continue working for him for $1,000 an hour, or would you go do something else with the last 3 days of your life? You probably want to do something else with your last 3 days of your life than go to work for the $1,000. Because what's the use of having $3,000 more in the bank when you're going to die in 3 days? We instinctively know that our time is more valuable than the money. We know that. Yet we boast about it as women, single women, about the bank, about having the money. And it is a waste of your bloody time. Having the purse, having the car, having the apartment, having all these material things. But you cannot redeem your time. You cannot get the time back. You've wasted the years doing things that are not going to last eternity. And you're not in the functional role that you were created to be, right? And when you do that, you're wasting your time. So modern women, we end up being very frustrated because we have been sold a bunch of lies and we believe the lies. And then on top of that, we think that marriage is a burden because we try to take on all this on our own. So these two women in the beginning were complaining about the whole task of expectations of women, and they don't think that marriage is worth it anymore. At best, they go on their own. Ironically, is that when they go on their own, they're still going to hire somebody else to do the same roles because all of them are single mothers, and they'll still need the daycare, and they'll still need to go to work for another boss man, and they'll still need the restaurant to provide food when they're too busy to eat, and they'll still need the farmer to go farm it because they can't do any gardening themselves. I mean, we're outsourcing other women called wives, wasting our time working in in a field that's not even ours. It doesn't belong to our household. It's another man's. What a bloody waste of time. Being a modern woman and monogamous is a waste of time. You need to grow up, my sisters. I learned that young. Because another reason why you should just stop just fighting it is that when you think of it, be honest with yourself. When's the last time you ran across a truly monogamous man? And I define truly monogamous by a man that really has no desire to have another woman, like never, like doesn't look at another woman, has no interest in it, has no sexual desire for it. If he could, like if he had $1 billion or something like that and could afford it, he would still choose not to do it. Has no desire. That is very rare because biologically speaking, men are actually programmed to multiply. They produce trillions of cells of sperm every day. They have a deep down the testosterone, their hormone to urge them to multiply. And if a man has the capacity to do it and given the talent to do so, he most likely would do it. I think the reason why most men here right now in the West are actually still speaking about monogamy, they're not even getting married, but if they were claiming to be, it's because they're afraid of you and I about our backlash. If a man, especially a man that you're interested in, were to say straight up to you, "Hey, I like you very much, but by the way, I'm polygynous." Would you even give him 2 seconds, or would you say, "Okay, bye bye," and try to get somebody else? Right. Or if you were married, and if you are a married sister here right now, and you're telling me, oh, my husband is monogamous, my husband would never look at another wife. I'm wondering, is that really true? Or is he afraid of really telling you honestly that he's polygynous? Because he knows that the day he tells you that he desires another woman, that he has an eye set on another woman, maybe his secretary, maybe his co-worker, another woman down the street, the widow, somebody else, he knows that you're going to be boom on him. You're going to be bashing him. You're going to be yelling, emotional. You're going to have some kind of silent treatment. You're going to treat him awkwardly. You're going to condemn him of cheating. He knows that you might burn your whole house down, especially if you've been married for a long time, and you might actually file for a divorce and you would like to take the children away from him. It's like not worth telling you the truth. So he'll lie to you, and I wouldn't like to say it, lie. He would restrain that part to save his marriage, to save his relationship with you. He will not tell you this part of himself and his desire to save the relationship with you. It doesn't mean that he is monogamous. So stop fooling yourself. And that's another thing that's wasting your time is hanging on to the delusion that men are monogamous. Doing that is a bloody waste of time. Men are not monogamous. Okay. And so the quicker that you would get rid of that delusion in your head, the better off you will be. Another thing I think is it's a waste of your womb, especially if you are under 25. And I'm talking to my sisters who are under 25. If you have it in your head that you only want to have a man who has eyes for you only, worships you, you're like a queen, treats you to dinners and dates, and takes you to Dubai or whatever, takes you out for vacation, pays your car note, pays your rent, gives you money for extra hair, nails, and wigs, all that should be. You consider that devotion to you only, like no other woman. You want that only. And when you're 18, you think, oh, I'm going to be 18 forever, right? And then 20 comes along, oh, I'm going to be 20 forever. So I'm going to hang out for that man. And then when you finally get to 21 and you finally think you got the man because you're not asking for cover from another father or brother to give you advice, and your own delusion of thinking that you can choose one on your own without any life experience. You go hop into the bed with the man and you commit sexual immorality with him. It's fornication. Yeah, that stuff. Because you got the itch and it's natural. You got the hormones, right? But he didn't commit to you. He didn't marry you, right? So you slept with him. And here you go, bonding with a man who's not your husband. You slept with him, he didn't commit to you. And here you go, thinking that he's going to be monogamous. And then maybe 1, 2 years from now, you find out that he's not. You find out that he's interested in somebody else. And then you're following the same lies, thinking, oh my goodness, I got to leave him. Because out there, somewhere in La La Land, where unicorns and butterflies live, there is such a thing as a monogamous man. And you got your eyes set on the horizon and you hit the road and you leave this man. You leave him. You're the one who pick up and leave. And matter of fact, you call your girlfriends and say, hey, girl, I am so out of him. I am leaving him because he was cheating. He was an adulterer. He was good for nothing. Whatever. I'm just being nice. Yeah, I'm not really good at slang. You get what I mean. You boast about it. You leave him and you boast about it. And then some of you even tick that on Instagram and you post it on TikTok. All right, fine. You leave him thinking that you're going to find a monogamous man. Sometimes you even end up with 2 or 3 children from this guy that you just left, right? And therefore, you've been wasting your womb on the so called delusion of monogamy. Delusion in this day, right? It's very rare. I dare to say that I think, this is just my opinion. Tell me if I'm wrong in the chats, but I think for a modern man to be truly monogamous is very rare as a modern man to be truly celibate. Like no interest in sex whatsoever. And there is such a thing as celibates, even in the Bible. I think we have to realize that not all men were given the talent to enjoy women, to want a wife, right? Some men are genuinely don't want sex, but very, very few. Very, 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 very few. And I think it is the same thing with monogamy. Very few are monogamous. Why? Because I think the command, go and be fruitful, demands a man to want to be fruitful. I mean, Yah made Adam with a desire to fulfill his command. And so the desire for men inside to want to multiply is so strong. The only thing that is really keeping him away from it, not the only thing, there's many factors, but one of the biggest factors is you and I as sisters who have not yet obeyed Yah's command by listening to the Torah and following it, and not yet embrace the fact that they're not cheating on you, that they can love you and love another woman at the same time, and embrace the fact that we have to be submitted to them. So it's not even up to us. We can't even control a man and say, you're not allowed to have any other woman. It's like telling the branch of the stump of the tree, you're not allowed to have any other branch. I'm only going to be this one. I'll bear all the children that you're allowed to have, and then I'll complain about it because it's too much of a burden, right? You see the irony of that? We need to open our eyes, my sisters. It is wasting your time. Fighting to be monogamous in your head is wasting your time. And it's up to you. Even if you have not been married yet, even if you don't have children yet, I encourage you to get rid of the monogamy mentality in your head. Get rid of that dream. Embrace thinking of yourself as being polygynous. You were going to look for a good opportunity to transform the way that you're thinking day to day so that you're no longer thinking in the limited wasteful monogamy mentality and you're looking in the abundant multiplication polygyny mentality when it comes to covenant relationships and marriage, right? And when we do that, all of a sudden we now seize the time back. So I don't want to make this too long, but I'm going to read to you a chapter in Ephesians chapter 5 that really spoke to me today, and you want to pick that up, okay? Ephesians chapter 5, and speaks about embracing the time. But I really would like to read the whole thing for you, right? So pick it up in your Bible, and I'm going to read it here. Ephesians chapter 5, verse 1. Therefore, be imitators of God, Yah, as beloved children, and walk in love, just as Christ also loved you and gave himself up for us, an offering and a sacrifice to God as a fragrant aroma. But immorality or impurity or greed must not even be named among you as proper among saints. Like immorality, sexual immorality, greed, selfishness, wanting the man all for yourself, hooking up, for a little itch here, a little boom boom over there. That shouldn't be, that's not even funny. No joking around, right? You get yourself married. Get yourself married. Hmm. And there must be no filthiness, no silly talk or coarse gesture, which are not flirt or not fitting, but rather giving of thanks. For this you know with certainty that no immoral or impure person or covetous man who is an adulterer, so impure person, a fornicator is also an adulterer, has an inheritance in the kingdom of Christ our God. So don't fool yourself. You ain't going to make it to the kingdom if you have that kind of lifestyle. Now, that is serious because modern women, again, we don't take any of that serious. We think that the Tinder hookups are count for nothing. Like I was wondering the other day, how many how many meaningless fornicating relationships count as being a prostitute, a whore, a 304? Like how many? Is it, if you do it like twice in your lifetime, three times in your life, like how many does it count? How often? Anyway, I'm getting off track. Let's read verse 4. Let no one deceive you with empty words, for because of these things the wrath of God comes upon the sons of disobedience. Therefore, do not be partakers of them. For you were formerly darkness, but now you are light in the Lord. Walk as children of light. For the fruit of light, yeah, the fruit, the consequence of light consists in all goodness, righteousness, and truth. Stand in the truth. Trying to learn what is pleasing to the Lord. We want to find out what pleases the Lord. And I'm going to tell you, my sisters, that walking in righteousness and being married and being covered by a man and not being on the street pleases the Lord. Your single season in your 30s and 35s, when you had many opportunities to get inside, is rebellious. And we were not created to do this. We were created to please the Lord. Do not participate in the unfruitful deeds of darkness. Unfruitful, like it doesn't benefit anything. It's a bloody waste of time. Do not participate in the unfruitful deeds of darkness, but instead, even expose them. This is what I'm doing right now. For it is disgraceful even to speak of the things which are done by them in secret. But all things become visible when they are exposed to the light. For everything that becomes visible is light. That is why I'm on Call for Wisdom, trying to expose the deception of marriage and of deception of our modern women mentality, our indoctrination of feminism, our hatred for men, our hatred for marriage. I want to expose all that. And our wasting of our youth, our wasting of our womb, our wasting of our lives, the talents that God gave us, when we should be in a house with a man producing fruits. Now, I should say everybody is going to be married, but some of you need to go back home to your fathers, really, and submit yourself to a cover and be fruitful, please. Verse 14. For this reason, it says, awake, sleeper, arise from the dead, and Christ will shine on you. Moving on, verse 15. Therefore, be careful how you walk. Be careful how you walk, not as unwise men, but as wise, making the most of your time because the days are evil. My sisters, make the most of your time. Do not waste your life away. Make the most of your time. Be wise about the 8 hours, the 12 hours that you have in the daylight to do something. Do it in the for the mission of Yah that He has given you, that the produce fruit with what He has given you that will last. And stop working for money that is not going to last. Get yourself into the kingdom. Get yourself into the household. Bear children. Be useful for the mission, right? In some capacity, because the days are evil, so then do not be foolish, but understand what the will of the Lord is. I love that one. Be Do not be foolish, verse 17, but understand what the will of the Lord is. And I think a lot of our sisters have forgotten. We do not understand what the will of the Lord is for our lives. We think that is to go to college and become an accountant, to go to college and become a head of HR, to go make some money, to go get our own house and our car. And when we finish do all that, we are still complaining because we're not walking in the will of Yah. We think it is about being in the church and being like on the choir or working in the field of the church minister himself. And dec- we've forgotten that we were created to be helpmates for Adam, to be helpmates, to be wives for Adam. This is the will of Yah for you. Dare I say, if you are female, this is the will of Yah for you, to be subjected to your husband and to be under subjection to his mission, to work alongside him in his mission. The will of Yah for you. Don't forget that. So then, do not be foolish, but understand what the will of the Lord is, and do not get drunk with wine, for that is dissipation, but be filled with the Spirit, speaking to one another in psalms, hymns, and spiritual songs, singing and making melody with your heart to the Lord, always giving thanks for all things in the name of our Lord Jesus Christ, to God, even the Father, and be subject to one another in the fear of Christ. Wives, be subject to your own husbands, as to the Lord. Subject, submitted to your own husbands, not to the pastor, to your own husbands, not to the boss man over there, to your own husbands. Subject yourself. Serve him. Don't listen to these modern women. Serve the man. Get him some sandwich and give him some sex. Serve the man, okay? For the husband is the head of the wife, as Christ also is the head of the church. Like in the same way, the husband is the head of the wife. In the same way, Yeshua is the head of the congregation, the assembly, people, group of people. The husband is the head of the wife. Also, groups of people, wives. We can have individual, and he's my head, and each individually attached, he's the head of us, right? The same way that Christ, I'm individually attached to Yeshua, and he's the head of his congregation. In the same way, for the husband is the head of the wife, as Christ also is the head of the church, and he gave himself being the savior of the body. But as the church is subject to Yeshua, Christ, so also the wives ought to be to their husbands in everything, like in everything, in the same way that we subject ourselves to Yeshua, the head of the congregation, the ecclesia, the members, the people, not talking about the building, the head of the people. In the same way, we subject ourselves to our husbands in all ways. So before you go complaining, would you do the laundry for Yeshua? Would you make him some children? Would you provide him with assistance in his field? What way would you not want to submit yourself to Yeshua, to Jesus? If you would do this for him, do this for your husband in the exact same way. This is our calling. Understand the will of Yah for you. Verse 25, husbands, love your wife, just as Christ also loved the church and gave himself up for her. So that, see, love your wife in the same way that Christ loved the church and gave himself up. So, love is the sacrifice of giving yourself up for her. It is not about taking her out to the cheesecake factory, giving her gifts, and lolly lolly romance. Love is sacrifice, like Yeshua sacrificed his life for the congregation. In the same way, husbands love their wives. I think we've forgotten what love is. And when men sacrifice and go to work and provide, we don't count that as love. When they give their mission up and sacrifice to devote to the family, like he devotes his life to following Yeshua's mission, and he devotes himself to sacrificing for you and his children. We don't see this as love, but this is what real love is. Verse 26, so that he might sanctify. So he gives himself up so that he might sanctify her, having cleansed her by the washing of the water through the word. And so the men, the offering men, they sacrifice for us so that for the purpose of sanctifying us, sanctifying and setting us apart, cleaning us of our negativity, cleaning us of our feminist ideology, our monogamy only false doctrine, indoctrination, our perceptions of men through the word. The word is the truth, the Torah. So while we read this, we're supposed to be transforming the way that we think. And when husbands read this with us and study the word with us, be open to the changes that will come through the word and through the Ruach, that he might present himself, Yeshua, in all her glory, having no spot or wrinkle. So the goal is perfection. Jesus is doing this, Yeshua is doing this for the congregation to present us without any imperfections. In the same way, the husbands are trying to do this to present us, his wives, without any imperfections. The goal is perfection, to be clean, not to be the old woman that you were back in the day. And women say, oh, I got married and I lost myself. Well, yeah, the goal is to lose yourself, my sisters, and become perfect, to become great wives, to be awesome wives, to be fruitful wives, not to be the same old, same old. That is not the goal. So, verse 26 of verse 27, that he might present her himself, the church, in all her glory, having no spot or wrinkle or any such thing, but that she would be holy and blameless. Yeah. So husbands, we're still talking about marriage. So husbands, in the same context here, ought also to love their wives in the same way, sacrifice, love their wives as their own bodies, sacrifice for your bodies. Who loves his own life loves himself. Yeah. He who loves his own wife loves himself. For no one ever hated his own flesh, but nourishes it, cherishes it, just as Christ also does to the church. Okay. Because we are members of his body. Again, we are members of Yeshua's body. And as the same way, we wives are members of our husband's body. And he's sacrificing, he's reading the word to us, he's washing us with the word. He's doing all this because we are members of his body, our husband's body. 4, verse 31, for this reason a man should leave his father and his mother and shall be joined to his wife, and the two shall become one flesh. Remember, joining to the wife, joining. Each wife is joined to the member of the body. Verse 37, the mystery. This is great, eh? Verse 32, this mystery is great, but I am speaking with reference to Christ and the church, the ecclesia. Nevertheless, each individual among you also is to love his own wife, even as himself, and the wife must see to it that she respects her husband. I love it. Respect, my sister, respect. It doesn't even say love. It's not about fairy tales and kisses. It's about respecting the husband, respecting the fact that he is the head. You are the members. Don't waste your time fighting for monogamy. Don't waste your time doing that. We are members, polygynous members, joint. So if my husband has me and I'm his right hand, well, guess what? He needs another wife over here to be his left hand. I'm a really good right hand, but I'm not a good left hand. And I'm surely not the foot. I'm not the toe and the ears. Trying to be it all. I'm every woman. See is a burden. Stop trying to be every woman. Let yourself be a really good member, a really, really good member of his body. Function in the ways that Yah has given you and stop wasting your time trying to change your man's mind about that. Wasting your time trying to imagine monogamy when that is very rare and that is not what you're called to do. Be open minded to embracing biblical polygyny and changing the way you see it and stop wasting your youth and your womb. Okay, now I said my little piece. You might not agree with me. That's okay. I like your comments. I like the comments back. So if you agree with me, a thumbs up. If you don't agree with me, put a 2 in the comments or something like that. Say whatever you want. Blessings, everybody. Thanks for hanging out with me. Call for wisdom. And until next time, we will continue this conversation. Blessings.